Hello and welcome. My name is Space Muffin, and this is the Void Strategy. So first and foremost, Happy New Year. It's 2025, and so New Year means new tier list. So we have a lot of minis to go through, so I'm just going to hop right into it. Before we do, though, guys, please support the channel by hitting that like and subscribe button, guys. It's super appreciated. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So Anuba Rock. I really like Anuba Rock. He's kind of a new mini, split leader. Really good. I'm going to go ahead and put him into A tier. He's really fun, lots of good talents, and just all around a good mini. Next, we have Baron Rivendare. He's going to remain in S tier. I think he was S tier last year, but he really, there's so much deck diversity with Baron Rivendare, and there's so many things you can do with him, and he provides so much value just in a single unit. That's what makes him so good. Next, we're going to talk about Blood Mage. So Blood Mage, I personally like him. But there's really only so much you can do with him, and his deck diversity is not that amazing. Once again, fun unit. I don't think he's quite D tier, because he's viable. But let's go ahead and put him into high C tier. Next, we have Bloodhoof. So Bloodhoof is really good, very diverse, really good talents. Kind of a fun mini that you can kind of do different decks with. I'm going to go ahead and actually also put him into A tier. He's very good. Next, we have Cenarion. So Cenarion, I'm actually going to put in... I'm going to put him in A tier above Bloodhoof. This might change, but Cenarion is really fun. The Cenarions this year have really provided, or I guess last year, have really provided a lot of, breath into the game that wasn't there. And so for that, he's just really fun in PvE, fun in PvP, really good all-around mini. Okay, speaking of all-around minis, this one is the exact opposite. Razor Flank is D tier. Really only one viable deck, as I kind of mentioned last year. It's just not really... They need to rework this mini. They need to rework some of the talents and kind of rework some of the ideas there. General Dracasath is... he's fun, kind of like Blood Mage, but there are better options. There are better options for what he does. He's... I'm gonna put him in C tier with Blood Mage. Okay, so next we have Emperor Thaurissan. Emperor Thaurissan is definitely better than Blood Mage and Dracasath. Emperor Thaurissan has a lot of fun talents, a lot of good synergies with Thaurissan, and he's just an all-around decent leader. Not quite as good as Bloodhoof or anything like that, but he's gonna go in B tier. Okay, so next we have Hellscream. So Hellscream is really good. Hellscream, his ability, gives everything Bloodlust. So there are many decks that you can build with Hellscream. He's a really diverse leader. I'm going to go ahead and put him into A tier. Okay, so next we have none other than the Hogger. Okay, so Hogger is good. He cascades, not quite as broken as he was in the beginning, but he definitely has the ability to kind of cascade and do a lot of cool stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and put him into B tier. All right, let's talk about Jaina. So Jaina kind of suffers from a similar problem to Blood Mage. She's kind of has some spell casty, limitations. But the thing that I found about Jaina this year, and this is why she's going to go into maybe low B tier, rather than the C tier, is because Jaina is... She's just fun, you know what I mean? But she's also very viable in a lot of situations with her abilities. So I think that, yeah, for now we're going to go ahead and leave Jaina in the B tier. Next we have Maeve. So Maeve is really good. Her ability is incredibly good. She's actually going to be immediately to A tier. So the fact that she has this kind of cascading effect with Unbound minis is incredibly good. It's really good. Malfurion. Okay, let's talk about Malfurion. He is, if there were a god tier... okay, actually it depends. If they nerf him, but right now he's S tier. Malfurion is borderline broken, actually, with his ability. But yeah, he's really good. Even with nerfing, he's really good. The fact that he only costs 4 mana, right, puts him in... He's just really good. This might change in the next few months, depending on what minis are released, but yeah, he's incredibly good. So next we have Murkai. Murkai is a B tier. He's fun, but he's susceptible to so many He has so many weaknesses is the problem, you know, and a lot of like anti-swarm units will completely eviscerate Murkai. Onu, I love Onu. Onu's fun, but Onu, his viability just isn't there. There are some cool strategies you can do with him, but I'm gonna go ahead and put him into C tier. Fun mini, but not ultra viable. Okay, so this brings us to our newest mini, Doomhammer. So as of right now, Doomhammer is definitely A tier. Not quite as broken as Malfurion, but I'm actually going to put him maybe in between these guys right here. Doomhammer is really good. I think the split minis are exactly what the game needed. And I think that it shows with Doomhammer. You know, his abilities are fun. His abilities are unique, and it really fits the theme of his character. The thing about Doomhammer, though, is we'll see. We'll see kind of, you know, if they patch some of this stuff, and we'll see what other minis come out. Next, we have Ragnaros. Ragnaros is D tier. He's really not worth investing in. He's kind of fun, right? You know, in certain situations, you know, he can kind of do pretty good. He can do Onyxia kind of at a lower level, but he's really, there's so many better options than Ragnaros at this particular time. That brings us to everybody's favorite, Blackhand. Blackhand is still S tier. Blackhand is really good, really diverse. The fact that he's a flying and a ground unit, you know, I mean, there's so much cool stuff that Blackhand has. Next, we have Sneed. So the thing about Sneed is I like him. He's fun, but ultimately, you know, he's not quite A tier, but he's definitely in the B tier, probably above Jaina. Yeah, Sneed is really good. I like Sneed, but, you know, he does have some problems. So now for kind of a controversial one, Sylvanas. So a lot of people put Sylvanas into C tier. Some people put Sylvanas into B tier. Some people put Sylvanas into A tier. Now, Sylvanas is one of my favorite leaders, and the fact that she's a split mini now makes her much more viable. If that makes any sense, it makes things make a little bit more sense. The weakness of Sylvanas is simply her cost, but if she costs less, she would be S tier. So she's definitely, I would put her in high B tier. Oh, I just messed up. It won't let me grab her again, but I'm going to put Sylvanas into high. Oh, there she is. Okay. I'm going to put her into high B tier. I don't know why it's not letting me do that. Okay, whatever. I'll put her right there. So Sylvanas is high B tier, low A tier. That might change, but yeah, she's really good. That leaves us with Fordring. So Fordring is definitely S tier. And the reason why Fordring is S tier is simply because for beginning people, he is incredibly good. He'll get you through the campaign really well. He can heal. He heals himself. I mean, he's really good. He only costs 4. He's got really fun abilities, and he is really good in PvP. So for that, he is definitely S tier. Definitely a mini worth investing in. That leaves us next with Ysera. So the thing about Ysera is she's fun, but I am not seeing, like, me personally, I'm just not seeing, like, her use. And so she's going to go into C tier. And, I mean, okay, so I'm not saying that she's bad, but it's just, like, there are other minis you can invest in, right? Like, someone like me who plays the game every day, yes, I love Ysera. And if you're like, I got to have Ysera, I just love the way she plays, then by all means. But the unpredictability of some of her abilities and just kind of like the niche use cases of a lot of it just really puts her into C tier. Next, we have the Abomination. Abomination is easily B tier. Now, the only thing preventing him from being S tier is some of his abilities aren't as good. Noxious Presence is incredibly good against, I mean, it's very diverse. Noxious Presence is very good. So, for that, he's going to be in B tier, but he costs too much. He's only viable in certain decks, but the decks that he is viable in, he absolutely eviscerates. Angry Chickens is terrible. Don't invest in Angry Chickens. Too many units get rid of Angry Chickens. That's the problem. Is just too many units get rid of Angry Chickens, and it's really not amazing. Okay, so let's talk about the Arcane Blast. So Arcane Blast is good in Jaina. Arcane Blast is good in Blood Mage, and that's really about it, to be honest. I mean, I suppose no, that's really it. Actually, it's only good in 2 decks, and for that reason, I'm gonna have to put it into high D tier. Okay. So that leaves us with Ancient of War. Ancient of War is good, simply because of its ability. You know, you're not going to play it for 10, but you know, it's got some pretty good, you know, abilities that increase the attack speed. Lightning Rod is actually pretty decent. So for that reason, I'm going to put it into low B tier. That leaves us with Banshee. Banshee is incredible. Okay, so Banshee's actually gotten better, believe it or not. So Banshee can grab a lot of your slow-moving tanky units. So Banshee can grab Onu, Dracasath. I mean, it could even potentially grab, if done right, it can grab a lot of units. And for that reason, it can grab the Earth Elemental. It can grab a lot of, like, good units. Gargoyle. So for that reason alone, she's B tier. Okay, next we have the Warsong Bat Rider. Sorry, not the Warsong Bat Rider. Sorry, just the Bat Rider. I keep getting the Warsong Rider and the Bat Rider confused. But yeah, this is the Bat Rider. The Bat Rider is definitely B tier as well. The thing about the Bat Rider is pretty much eviscerates all ground units. It's a great answer to ground units. I'm actually going to put it above the Ancient of War. And you know, when building your decks, you know, you have to start assessing what are the threats, you know? Like, you can't just put every A tier unit in a deck and expect it to be good. You have to ask yourself what's going to synergize with my playstyle and what's going to synergize with the deck itself. Next, we have Blizzard. So Blizzard is definitely solid A tier. This spell is very diverse. It can be used in a lot of things. It's won me a lot of games last minute, and it's just an all-around good spell. It does cost a little bit, but its use case is incredibly diverse. Okay, that leaves us next with the Bog Beast. Bog Beast is good. I like Bog Beast, but it's definitely C tier. And I'm going to explain why it's C tier. It's actually above all these guys right here. But the thing about the Bog Beast is I like it for its binding ability. You can also use Bog Beast in, say, Malfurion. You know, so he does have some use cases, but he's not as diverse as, say, something like the Fire Elemental or even the Fairy Dragon. You know what I mean? So next we have Chain Lightning. Now, a lot of people, based off the videos that you'll see on this channel, you would think Chain Lightning is like God tier, but that's just because Chain Lightning fits my playstyle. Chain Lightning, it's not A tier. But it's not quite C tier. So what I like about Chain Lightning is it gets rid of... It's really good on lower levels when you're facing, like, Old Murk-Eye, you know, Tide Hunters, Angry Chickens. So it's got a lot of skeletons it does good against, but, like, it's got a lot of good use cases. It hits a lot of flying units pretty good, like the higher tier, you know, Whelp Eggs and Harpies. So a lot of people don't like Chain Lightning, but I actually think it is a high B tier unit. I think it's a high B tier spell. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people won't use it. I love Chain Lightning. It's one of my favorite spells, but I understand that it's not quite A tier just simply because of the diversity. But the things that it is used in, it is used incredibly well. Okay, so next we have Cheat Death. Cheat Death is C tier. There is some viability. You know, there are some strategies that Cheat Death relies upon, but the thing about Cheat Death is, number one, it's dependent on your reaction time, right? You know, and it's also dependent. There's so many like factors with Cheat Death that make it really not ultra usable. Some people will disagree with me, but I just think that Cheat Death is not. I mean, it's good, but it's just not like. It's not D tier, but it's not B tier either. You know what I mean? The Chamara. The Chamara is good B tier, like low B tier. It's fun. It's diverse. It hits a lot of similar to like the Bat Rider. It hits a lot of ground units really well, and it's got that poison, so really good. Okay, so next we have the what are these guys called? The Core Hounds. So the Core Hounds do cost quite a bit. They have their use case. You know, there are things you can do with the Core Hounds that are viable. It's definitely not A tier, but it's not quite as it's more viable than a lot of things in C tier in PvE and PvP situations. So for that, I'm going to put it in B tier. Okay, so next we have the Dark Iron Miner. So if you watched my Doomhammer video, you'll notice that I talk about kind of the Dark Iron Miner. A lot of people don't understand why the Dark Iron Miner is good, and it's the mine ability where he will plop mines down, and that is really good for getting rid of other miners. It's good for getting rid of swarm units. So it's got some viability, but it's really good. Its other two abilities, in my opinion, aren't exactly amazing. I mean, they're good, but they're not like amazing. Having said that, like, I think most people are going to opt to replace this unit with something else. For that reason, it's going to go into C tier. Okay, so Darkspear Troll. This is, when this game first came out, a lot of people did not like Darkspear Troll. But as we're finding out, the synergistic elements plus Big Bad Voodoo is really good. I mean, it's really good. And so now with Doomhammer and with Doomhammer, but with Doomhammer and things like that, like Darkspear Troll all of a sudden is becoming really good. Now, the other thing that makes Darkspear Troll really good as well is you have Sylvanas now being a split leader mini, so those benefits will be there as well. But frankly put, Darkspear Troll is incredibly diverse. Number one, it hits air units really well, and it hits ground units really well, and it hits towers pretty well. So this has got to be A tier for me. It's really good. Darkspear Troll is really good. Another good spell is Deep Breath. So this one is unlocked with Onyxia. Really good spell, and its use cases are very, very good. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that into A tier as well. I'm actually gonna put Darkspear Troll, put it below Darkspear Troll. So yeah, really good. Defias Bandits S tier, and here's why. Okay. Defias Bandits, just for the pick-locking ability alone, there are so many maps that take advantage of this in PvP and PvE situations. And the stun ability, they only cost one. Like, there's so much to this. There's so much to this unit. So, for example, like Defias Bandits, you can stun the Abomination and then plop Banshee down and then gain control of it. Like, there's so many synergies with Defias Bandits. It's ridiculous. So, next we have the Bats. Okay, so in my humble opinion, the Bats are actually really good. The Bats are good in Anubarak. The Bats are good in Sylvanas. The problem with the Bats is, once again, kind of similar to the chickens. There's so many ways to get rid of them. The difference is, though, the Bats are flying, and the Bats can drop poison, and so they actually have a serious use case, whereas the chickens, kind of really don't, in my opinion. I mean, you can, there are use cases for the chickens, but really, I think the Bats have a better use case, and for that reason, they're going to go into mid-C tier. Next, we have the Drake. Drake is A tier. The reason why the Drake is A tier is simply because, number one, it's a flying unit. It plops ground units pretty hard. But the thing about the Drake is the Mother Drake ability is really good. It's just really good. It's really solid. And so when you are building a Blackrock deck, you might want to consider this thing. So it's really good, obviously, in things like Black Hand. But it's really good for what it does in a lot of situations. That brings us to the Dryad. The Dryad, I thought, was going to be like the next Darkspear Troll. Problem with the Dryad is it costs 4. And it is fast. It can get to its targets pretty quickly. But the Darkspear Troll gets that Big Bad Voodoo, and so it can heal itself. And it costs 1 less. So the Dryad's definitely going to be in B tier. Earth and Moon is, if you've watched this channel, I don't really like this spell. It would be really good if you can choose which one to do, but I don't know. It just costs too much, and then it's like when you need it, it's not there, and then when it's not there, you don't need it. Like, it's just kind of one of those situations where there are more viable options. I really wouldn't invest in Earth and Moon, at least not at this point in time. Okay, next we have the Earth Elemental. Earth Elemental is easily A tier. It's Unbound, and it hits stuff. It's really good. Lot of fun synergistic things that you can do with the Earth Elemental. Okay, so next we have Sun and Moon. So this is another kind of it's only really good in Jaina, and even then it kind of has some problems. But I don't know, my opinions have kind of changed on this. This is definitely low D tier, mid to low D tier, to be honest. It's just, I don't know, it's just really not super viable. There's many other spells. There's Holy Nova, there's Execute, there's like so much Chain Lightning. There's so much better stuff than this spell. Speaking of Execute is incredibly good, A tier. So what makes Execute good is, number one, you have the ability that gives things Bloodlust. Actually, all three of its abilities are viable in different situations. And yeah, it's just an all-around good spell. And it'll allow you to get certain things off. And yeah, it's pretty good, actually. It's really good for the cost. I don't really have much else to say about it. But next we have the Dragon Fairy. Dragon Fairy is B tier. And the reason why Dragon Fairy is B tier is it's good. Like, so you can, like, there's synergistic elements where you can buff and give, some of your units resistance. It flies. It only costs 3. So it's just an all-around decent unit. Not quite as good as anything in A tier, but it's definitely viable. Next, we have the Fire Elemental. Fire Elemental is also B tier. And here's the thing about Fire Elemental. Okay, it's good. It's fun. But, when building out a Blackrock deck, I'd choose Earth Elemental any day of the week. Now, there are synergistic things that you can do with Fire Elemental, such as Fire Elemental, Frost Wolf Shaman. Like, there's things you can kind of do with it that make it viable, but, the amount of synergies that it has are pretty low. Okay, so next we have the, what's this thing called? I'm drawing a blank on it. It's the, okay, we'll come back. Okay, so the, I'm doing Flame Walker. That's going to bother me, dude, for this whole video. So the Flame Walker is B tier. It really hits, it eviscerates ground units. Just completely destroys ground units, but that's it. Fun, but I think there's it's usable. It's definitely usable. Next we have the Footmen. So Footmen are going to be C tier. Here's why. Okay, actually I'm going to put them right here. You can do, there's synergies with them with things like Holy Nova. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do with the Footmen, and there's a lot of like kind of good stuff you can do. Not quite B tier, but they cost too much. But then again, if they cost less, they'd be kind of broken. Next we have the Gargoyle. So the thing about the Gargoyle is it's just a tower smasher, but the decks that it is used in, and it's got a lot of use cases. The Ghoul is B tier. Let's talk about why the Ghoul is B tier, okay? If you watch any of my Undead videos, it's incredibly good, right? In a lot of Undead synergies, it's really good, and the fact that it only costs 2 is really good. But that's it. Like, it's not... Things that are A tier and S tier, like there's a lot of diversity. You can use them in a lot of decks. That's kind of one of the key elements there. The Null Brute is definitely C tier. I used to kind of really like this, but there's a lot better things you can do, like for ground, units to be destroyed. I used to run him in my Hogger deck, but like now I'm kind of like, why? You know what I mean? There's a lot better stuff you can do. Next, we have the... What are these dudes called? The Goblin Sappers. So the Goblin Sappers are low B tier. The Goblin Sappers, like, they do, like, Onu, it's good in. Like, there's stuff you can do with the Goblin Sappers. You can do shenanigans in PvE. There's a lot of crazy PvE shenanigans you can do with Smoke Bomb and the Sappers, but they're very easy to take out. They're super easy to take out. Okay, so the Griffin Rider, why am I putting it into S tier? So let's talk about the Griffin Rider. Cost 2, it can plop towers, it can plop ground units. It's really good, actually. It's really good. Kind of like borderline broken in some scenarios. You have to know how to use this unit, and like really the cost. Like you'll notice a lot of S tier units don't really cost that much. I guess like Blackhand might be an exception, but there's kind of one of those situations. But yeah, Griffin Rider is incredibly good. And with like, for example, like you could, it's just really good. I don't know any other way to say it, but you can tank. You have like a tankier mini up front, like Ford Ring, and then the Griffin Riders will put in the work. Like, so, and the fact that they only cost 2, like that even, like look at every single ground unit ever, and this will help get rid of those things, right? It also helps get rid of flying units too, such as Gargoyle and some of those higher tier units. So really good. Next we have the Harpies. Harpies are incredibly good. Not quite S tier, but they are very good. A lot of people, will look at like, okay, why do you run the Harpies? The Harpies hit quick, and the Harpies are fast. And so the Harpies can deal with threats before they happen. And for that, I'm going to put the Harpies into A tier. Pretty good talent pool, pretty good abilities. And just really overall kind of a fun, kind of group of minis. So next we're going to talk about the Harvester Golem. Okay. Now the Harvester Golem, okay, is I like it. Okay. Some people don't like it. Some people say it's really not that great. The thing about the Harvester Golem, okay, is it's similar to the Bog Beast. In fact, yeah, a lot of similarities to the Bog Beast, but they do synergize well together. Not quite B tier. I'm actually going to go ahead and put the Harvester Golem into, probably C tier with the Bog Beast. 2 really good minis, 2 really fun minis. Okay, so next we have the Headless Horseman. Headless Horseman is a fun unit, not particularly amazing. It's going to definitely go into C tier. Costs quite a bit for what it does. It's got some cool abilities, but ultimately it is a C tier mini. Same with Holy Nova. Holy Nova is also going to be C tier. It gets rid of stuff, but it has very specific use cases. Next we have the Huntress. Huntress is A tier. For people who use Huntress, they'll understand why. Huntress pops so many units. She'll pop the Harpies. She'll pop the Whelp Eggs. She'll pop towers. She pops flying and ground units. Like she's really good. Huntress is really good. Even though she costs a lot, she's really good. Living Bomb, let's go ahead and just kind of ignore that. We're going to put the Living Bomb into D tier. Not really worth investing in. The Fire Hammer. That's what I don't know why I forgot that. But yes, the Fire Hammer. Okay. So Fire Hammer is definitely, I don't know why I forgot. I was drawing a blank on her name, but sorry guys. Okay. So Fire Hammer is definitely B tier. And the thing about Fire Hammer is she has some interesting talents. And the thing about Fire Hammer that a lot of people, like the talent she has that deals 50% more damage to flying enemies is really good. Blazing Speed, that ability is really good. Fury builds up about 40% faster. So she's really good in Thaurissan. She's good in, she's good in a lot of like fun stuff, And so for that reason, I'm going to put her into B tier. Definitely a B tier unit. So moving forward, we have the Meat Wagon. Meat Wagon is B tier. And the reason why Meat Wagon is B tier is simply because the fact that it can pop towers very easily. It's very good in PvE. And it's got a lot of synergies. Now, it can't hit flying units, obviously, but even so, like the fact that it only costs 3, and once you start kind of getting a nice little party going behind an Abomination or behind one of the ghouls, it's really good. Molten Giant is he's D tier. I mean, I don't know. There's better tankier units. There's just so many better tankier units, and it's kind of a noob stomper, right? In a lot of ways, in those, if you're building a really, kind of, kind of an entry level deck, there might be some viability there. But in my humble opinion, it's number one, it's relatively easy to get rid of. Bat Rider, Harpies, literally the Banshee, Dryad gets rid of her, gets rid of him. Like so much stuff gets rid of him, and he costs way too much. You know what I mean? So there are strategies you can do with the Molten Giant. I would definitely get Molten Giant over Living Bomb, but there's only so much you can do with him, and he's incredibly niche. Okay, so next we have the Skeleton Party. So Skeleton Party is good. It's viable. It has some kind of problems, with, things that hit swarm units, but the thing about the Skeleton Party that makes it really, really good is, once again, the diversity and the fact that it's unbound. So you can plop these guys next to a tower. You can plop miners. Like, there's so much stuff you can do with the Skeleton Party, and for that reason, I'm going to put it into low A tier. Okay, Moonkin. Okay, I love this unit, actually. I really do love this unit. It's just not really viable. It's... I used to run it kind of in like a lot of my Cenarion decks, but it's just really not ultra viable. There's one or two decks you can put it in, but ultimately it's not worth investing in. Not quite as bad as the Molten Giant, but it's just really not viable. The Mountaineer. Okay, the Mountaineer. I guess there's a Mountaineering event. I don't know if they're going to rework this mini or what, but as of right now, it's D tier. The thing about the Mountaineer is it costs too much. If it cost one less, it would be probably B or C tier easily, but it costs too much, and it's relatively easy to get rid of. It's relatively easy to handle. That leaves us with the Murloc Tidehunters. Murloc Tidehunters are C tier. I mean, the thing about the Murloc Tidehunters is they're good in the sense that, like, you can kind of deal with threats. They're fast, but there are more viable options that I like when dealing with certain threats, if that makes any sense. Okay, so next we have the Necromancer. Necromancer is a high value unit, meaning that it can kind of pseudo tank, but it also spawns the skeletons or the jeweled skeletons if you have that talent. A lot of my undead decks have the Necromancer in it. It's definitely B tier, right behind the Ghoul. But yeah, Necromancer is pretty decent. Not, once again, as good as something like the Gargoyle or the Skeleton Party, but still very good. Okay, so next we have the Ogre Mages. So Ogre Mages, like, they seem like a fun unit, but they suffer from the same problem as the Moonkin, where they cost too much for what they do. It is a little bit viable in certain builds, but honest to God, I don't really use this many much. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of some of this stuff, but I just do not see the viability in the Ogre Mage. Next we have Plague Farmer. Plague Farmer is also D tier. It's not worth investing in. I cannot... I would rather you... I don't know. There's just really... He's so easy to get rid of, right? So, like, there's no scenario that I would run the Plague Farmer over the Ghoul, right? And there's no scenario where I'd run Plague Farmer over, like, Necromancer or anything like that, So it's like... I don't know. I just... Plague Farmer just is not that great, in my opinion. Okay, let's talk about the Polymorph. Okay, so Polymorph is definitely a C tier unit. The thing about Polymorph is it's good. It deals with threats immediately, but it's kind of like a play now, pay later. Like, you are eventually still going to have to deal with those threats unless you have a mini that can, I mean, like, there are synergies with it, and that's why I'm not putting it, in D tier, but I think that Polymorph is good, but I think, you have to know how to use Polymorph. Okay, so that brings us next to, I remember last year we kind of got a little confused here, but let's talk about the Prowler. I like the Prowler. I think the Prowler is very usable in a lot of decks. It's very synergistic. It has a very nice stun ability. I'm going to put it into high C tier, in between. Actually, I'm going to put it above the Bog Beast and behind Dracosath. I think that the Prowler has some good use cases. Pyromancer. Okay, so Pyromancer, with the release of Doomhammer, and Pyromancer's always been good, but, like, definitely with Doomhammer now. I know people in my Doomhammer video were commenting on why I did not have her in the build, but she's really good. Pyromancer is an incredibly great Blackrock mini, and it's incredibly diverse. So, but yeah, she'll hit hard. If you synergize her with Doomhammer, she will hit incredibly hard. Now we got the MVP, Quillbor. Quillbor is like really good still. He's really good. Like last year he was S tier. This year he is definitely gonna be like, he's gonna be S tier this year again. I mean, he's really good. He can tank. He's unbound. He only costs 2. He can poison. Like, he's got some good stuff in PvP and PvE scenarios, and he synergizes with so many, like, minis. He synergizes with a lot of them. And the thing about the Quillbor is he can be a distraction. He can be, like, he's just so diverse because of kind of what he does. So, for that reason, he is definitely S tier. Next, we have the Raptors. So, the Raptors, not quite D tier, but you know, the Raptors are good. There's stuff you can do with them. They're going to go into low C tier. The thing about the Raptors are, quite simply put, it's kind of like, you know, they're a good swarm unit, but, you know, you have to figure out the use case with the Raptors. And I think that the Raptors, like, it's just easy to get rid of them, but also, like, you know, they're good in certain decks, and there's certain synergies with them, but I think, like, overall they are a C tier unit. Let's talk about Safe Pilot. So Safe Pilot, since the launch of this game, has been absolutely broken, and it's still really good. So I'm going to put Safe Pilot into S tier. I think if you're going to invest in, you know, a lot of this stuff, you'll notice like a lot of like Alliance minis are occupying the S tier, such as the Defias Bandits, things like that. But Safe Pilot's incredibly good. I don't think I need to say much about the Safe Pilot. The Frostwolf Shaman is A tier. The thing about the Frostwolf Shaman is it heals, it hits people, and it protects. So, you know, with the Earth Shield and things like that. So, yeah, I don't know. The Frostwolf Shaman is really good, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. Okay, so next we have our skeletons. So the thing about the skeletons is they're incredibly easy to get rid of, but they have, number one, they're unbound, okay? Number two, there are synergistic elements that you can do with the skeleton. So, for example, there's like a Baron Rivendare deck that you can do where it's just like you have a legion of skeletons. Because they're so easy to get rid of, I believe that I like them in a lot of undead decks. They're actually really good, but they're going to go into high C tier. And the reason why is just simply because they're just incredibly easy to get rid of, and they're really bad against the flamethrower towers. Amazing against single target, but really bad against the flaming towers. So next we have Smoke Bomb. So the thing about Smoke Bomb that everybody has to understand is it is good with Gargoyle. Smoke Bomb, but that's really about it, honestly. Good Gargoyle and maybe maybe the Sappers, right? But honestly, it's really like that's it. There's really not much else you can do with Smoke Bomb. There's a couple other niche decks you can do, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it into D tier. Okay, let's talk about the Spiderlings. Anuba Rock and the Spiderlings synergize relatively well. Number one, they're a beast unit, but number two, they can stack up the poison, right? So, but unfortunately, there's really not many decks they can be used in. I think this mini needs a rework. I think they need to kind of evaluate what this mini does. Having said that, I'm going to put it above the chickens, but I think that the Spiderlings are definitely D tier. Okay, so next we have the Stonehoof Tauren. So the Stonehoof Tauren is incredibly good. It bops people, pretty decent cost. I like it. I'm going to put it up in A tier. I think it's a good mini to invest in. I think it's a fun mini, and I think it has a lot of use cases. Okay, so next we have the Trents. Okay, so the Trents are good. The Trents do have some, you know, some viability, but I think that until I can see like more viable builds, I'm going to put them into like maybe like low C tier. I'm just not seeing like a lot of viability with them. Now, granted, I don't know. It's these X minis are good. I think there's some like usability with the X minis, but I don't know. It's suffering from a lot of like the same problems that the Raptors suffer from, and so I don't know. But I think they're more useful in some scenarios. So next we have the Vultures. They're D tier. Don't invest in the Vultures. I chain lightning like literally any spot removal gets rid of these. And they're really terrible, obviously, against certain towers. There's really... I don't see why you would run the Vultures over the Harpies, right? Like, or the Dragon Whelps, or the Huntress. I just don't see why you would run the Vultures. I just don't see their viability. Next, we have Warsong Grunts. So I think these are eventually going to move up the tier list. Warsong Grunts have moved up a little bit, in my opinion. I think they definitely have their use cases. And you're going to see those once they release more Horde synergistic minis, you know, or certain minis that I think like there's a future proof element to the Warsong Grunts. You know, but you know, they're just like the Foot Soldiers, right? You know, they are a signature mini of the Horde, just like the Footmen are the signature kind of mini, like the Grunt mini of the Alliance. If you guys have played Warcraft 3, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And then you have the Ghouls, which are kind of, you know, like that equivalent for the Undead. But the thing about the Ghouls is they only cost 2, and you can just keep playing them over and over again. So there's that. Warsong Rider. So this is good. She costs 4. She's fast. She hits stuff, hits towers. Definitely B tier. If she costs 3, she'd definitely be like A or even S tier. But she costs 4. And yeah, so she's really good. Speaking of A tier minis that are really good, let's talk about the Dragon Whelps. I think the Dragon Whelps are good. There's a lot of use cases for them. You can put them out as a deterrent. You can distract people with them. You can pop people. And then they give you 3 flying units that pop ground units and flying units. So it's really good. I like it. I think that, yeah, I think that it's really good. So next we have the Witch Doctor. The Witch Doctor is really good. Okay? And here's why it's so good. Okay? Number 1, it pops swarm units really, really, really easily. Number 2, it's incredibly good in a lot of PvE scenarios, you know? Like a lot of like Onyxia decks you'll see the Witch Doctor in. And you'll see a lot of like synergies with the Witch Doctor. I think the Witch Doctor is very good. I really like the Witch Doctor. I like Amplified Curse. I like a lot of his abilities. So I'm going to go ahead and put him into A tier. Okay. Okay, next we have, last but certainly not least, the Worgen. So Worgen, Unbound, hits pretty hard with his abilities, his ambush ability and things like that. He hits pretty hard. So I think he's worth investing in, but, you know, he's not like A tier or anything like that, but he's definitely in the B tier. So, guys, I know I went as fast as I humanly could, but actually, before we end the video, let's go ahead and see if there's any revisions here. I'm going to put the Plague Farmer right here. I'm going to put the Polymorph right here. I'm going to put Cheat Death. Cheat Death, I don't know. Cheat Death needs to go maybe right there. Footman, I'm going to put right there. And that looks about right. Okay, let's look at the B tier. B tier looks pretty good. I'm actually going to put the Warsong Rider right here. I'm going to put the Flamewalker right there. Actually, I'm going to put the Ghoul. The Ghouls are really good. So I'm going to put the Ghouls actually right here with the Abomination. And I'm going to put this one right here. Okay, so that's kind of my revised. Okay, yeah, C tier looks good. Okay, A tier. Let's look at the A tier. Anuba actually, I'm like, he's not like, I mean, he's good, but I definitely think that Maeve is better. Witch Doctor needs to go above that. Huntress needs to go above the Gargoyles, because actually Huntress needs to go right here. Because the Huntress can pop the Drake and the Gargoyles pretty easily, and the Harpies. Okay, let's look at the S tier. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to put Baron Rivendare below that. I'm going to put Rend above... Oh, this is tough, actually. I'm going to put Rend actually above Malfurion. Malfurion's just too new. It's kind of his problem. So yeah, guys, there you have it. This is my 2025 tier list. Obviously, as 2025 goes on, we are going to see different minis come out, and some of this might change. But for now, I think this is a good base level of minis that you should be kind of looking for. Guys, once again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching this very long video. Happy New Year, and we will see you in the next video.